and welcome back to the Silicon Sounds YouTube channel, audio for the rest of us. Today, I'm going to take a quick look and review of what I consider to be an unsung hero in the world of in-ear monitors, the Moji Monica H20. Tiny little thing with great sound. Let's jump right into the specs. The Moji Monica H20 uses an 8mm liquid silicone dynamic driver and 2 balanced armatures per side. At $149 USD, it is not ultra budget, but it does come in as an earphone using a hybrid driver setup. On top of that, the armature, at least the manufacturer of the armatures, are not actually specified, but I always say that it's implementation that counts, not necessarily where they're from. For the most part. I did find, though, that the H20 Moji Monica H20 are extremely fussy earphones. I labeled the review as she's contentious, but she's my lady, that require a little bit of TLC in order to extract the best sound from them. And when you do, it's quite pleasing. So let's get into build, quality, and fit. Build quality is very good. Not just for the earphone, but all its included accessories as well. The wealth of included accessories is welcomed, and the unboxing experience really does shout quality and attention to detail. The Moji Monica H20 is a very small earphone. That, combined with the short but wide nozzle, can prove to be a challenge in achieving a good fit and seal with some individuals. And let me just take off the tip so I can show you what I mean. There we go. As you can see, the nozzles are very short but quite wide, and combined with the very small size of the earphones, fit can be a problem. Tip selection then becomes critically important to extract the best sound out of these, and just to get a proper seal, for example. Because they have to be inserted fairly deep given the short nozzle. The size does help. Once again, it is not one size fits all, just like with any in-ear earphone. The included silver-plated crystal copper cable is of very high quality as well, and may be all that some may need with respect to an earphone. You may not have to go outside for a third party. So the included accessories, including the tips, I'm going to show you some pictures of them right away. We'll show you how the presentation is done in a retail box. No one will mistake the H20 as being a budget product. So let's get to some pictures to show you what this really looks like out of the box. The Moji Monica ships with a number of high quality accessories matching the earphones themselves in a very elegant retail presentation. It also ships with a number of great tips, all of great quality, a beautiful carrying case, and a cable that is actually a very high quality for a standard stock cable for those moments when it's time to just sit back and enjoy. Now, of course, let's talk about the sound. Bass. I have to point out first that the Moji Monica H20 is in terms of tuning, is bright neutral. Bass is overall neutral with a slight mid-bass emphasis, and we say very slight. It's a chameleon really in this range and gives what's in the source material. Whatever's there in the material, the source material, the Moji Monica is going to play it for better or for worse. And that's one of the contentious parts about this earphone, is that it is very unforgiving of poorly recorded material. A lot of IEMs out there will wax over the not so clean aspects of certain recordings. These will not. These will tell you what's in there. The bass is like a chameleon. It's there when needed. It can awaken with force when called for. On some of my more energetic drum and bass tracks, for example, I found the Monica had a very deep, nice, palpable bass, lots of texture, lots of detail, but just not in the greatest quantity as, let's say, KZZAS, but the quality is markedly better. Bass is articulate and well textured, though just maybe a bit hair less so than that of the Hiddes MS2, which is another competitor which is less expensive actually. Impact is good with great speed and clarity. Where it really excels in the bass, it's its organic presentation combined with minimal mid-bass bleed. Attack has a driving bass as conveyed with control and the right amount of energy. This is heard in Angel, for example, by Massive Attack, that has a driving bass line. The H20 really produced it beautifully. When you pop these in your ear, you might think that they're bass shy, but really they're just presenting what's in the track. Very good to hear. Let's talk about mids. This is where things get really interesting. It's an unforgiving beast. Poor recordings will sound poor. And well-recorded material will sound very good, actually. You really got to watch pairings as well. I found tip rolling with these to be a challenge in terms of really getting the right synergy. As well, the Moji Monica H20 really demands a warmer source. It worked really good with my Shanling UA2, my Zudu MT602 hybrid tube amplifier, for example, but still sounds good on more leaner or colder sources. I can't say it's actually leaner, like the topping A50S. Clarity, fast transients, detail, layering, these are the hallmarks of the Moji Monica H20. There is an upper mid-range emphasis, which can actually sometimes sound a little too aggressive, but only with poorly recorded material. Once again, not very forgiving whatsoever. You know, it can lead to a little bit of overemphasis on poorly recorded tracks. And this is where we have to, you know, garbage in is garbage out with the Monica. It doesn't wax it over. It's not going to make a beautiful flower from garbage. Definitely unforgiving. All in all, what I love about the Monica 2 is its portrayal of the space between the notes, which I think is just as important as the notes themselves. The space between the notes adds to the depth, the air, the environment around the notes. That's just as important. Can be heard in Stimula by Hugh Masekela live recording, which I use quite extensively for testing IEMs and other components. Really gave you the sense of space of the sound stage. It was really good. Good amount of micro and macro details are there as well. Ample layering and separation combined with lots of speed, but not sounding too fast, if you know what I mean. Like the notes finish on time. Cymbal clashes, for example. The trailing edge of the transient sound believable. And that brings us right to the treble. I must say, though, that the H20 is more intimate than recessed. Anita Baker's voice, for example, in Love You to the Letter was sublime, beautifully intimate. Protection by Massive Attack, one of my favorite tracks, really had me fixated. I had to keep on repeat. Tracy Thorn's vocals in that track with the Monica are just stunning. Treble. Really good treble extension with sweet organic feel to it. Cymbal strikes and strings have great impact, lots of air, and very believable decay. I find in some IEMs, and we're going to do some comparisons soon, the decay is the problem. The attack is sharp, well-defined, but the decay, just the fall-off sounds somewhat artificial. Good sparkle. Not being embellished to the point and sounding like a sonic equivalence to Christmas lights competition. Some of the lesser IEMs out there seem to think that more is better, when actually less is more. Well, the Monica plays what you put into it. Impressive soundstage. Let's get to the soundstage right away. Throws up a really impressive soundstage. Regularly, I found that the width went past the confines of my ears, and in combination with good depth and height reproduction, resulted in some recordings placing me just a few rows back of center in an intimate hall. Once again, Stimula by Hugh Masekela, for example. The layering and separation capability of the Monica were on full display here, allowing for a very engaging performance. So I think it's very well done for an IEM. Now let's talk about some verses. Here we are. The People's Champ. The Hzsound Heart-Mirror. Let me just get this right out of the way. The Moji Monica H20 is a grown-up and mature Hzsound Heart-Mirror. let me put what I'm talking about. Both airphones have a bright neutral tuning. Bass is more impactful on the H2O with levels of details and texture being very close between the two, although the H2O does take the edge, in particular in the mids and the treble. Mids on the Heart-Mirror are more recessed than that at H2O, but with respect to the metrics of clarity, detail, retrieval, and separation, they're both quite close actually, with a slight edge going to the Moji Monica. Lower mids on the Heart-Mirror are a touch thinner than the H2O. Definitely you'll hear that in a lot of different recordings. Treble is also very close. The treble on the H2O wins when it comes to being more natural in attack and decay. But in air and sparkle, they're very close to each other. But the H2O, again, is just slightly more organic sounding, meaning more natural, more easy to listen to than on the Heart-Mirror. Let's bring in another contender. Care Bear Believe. If you don't have one of these, unfortunately, they're no longer in production. Although the Vento, I forgot the name of it, is in production right now, but I have the Believe and I love it. The bass on the Believe is stronger, but it's faster, tighter, and more textured or better textured on the Monica. But the Monica really demands, well, both of these demand some kind of input from the listener in terms of synergy and setup in order to extract the best performance out of either. I would say that the Monica requires even more than the Believe, which in of itself is a contentious lady right there. The H2O does benefit from a warmer source. The Believe, not as much. You want a more neutral source for the Believe. But if you can appreciate its clean, detailed, and organic performance, pay attention to tip and cable rolling and source selection. The Monica is fantastic. Now, getting back to the comparison, clarity and separation are definitely comparable between the two. The Believe is a champ at layering, and the Monica is right there with it. But slightly, with respect to layer separation, the Believe ekes out a win in that regard with that metric, but just slightly. Treble is where the H2O gets the nod most. Definitely, H2O just has greater clarity and detail up top, but the Believe has that mature and organic feel that is very alluring. I would say the Believe is even more organic than the H2O, but just a little more organic sounding. But the treble, definitely the H2O has the edge here. So let's get into a conclusion. The Moji Monica H2O is not your average earphone. Far from it. It's capable of excellent performance, but demands a commitment from its owner to extract this high level of achievement. The H2O does benefit from a warmer source, and I found it paired very well with the Shanling UA2, as well as the MT602 hybrid tube amplifier. In the desktop setup that's the MT602, while the Shanling UA2 is a dongle. But for those who can appreciate its clean, detailed, and organic performance, and can also appreciate and pay attention to synergy with respect to tips, cable, and source, it gets a firm must listen. The Moji Monica H2O is one of the few earphones which had me reaching for it on a number of occasions after listening to something else, just so I can get lost in the music once again. This in of itself, in my opinion, is strong enough recommendation. The lady is definitely contentious, but she's special and she's mine. Thank you for watching this review. We hope that you give a like and a subscribe. Tell your friends about Silicon Sounds, and we'll bring you more reviews and views in the future. Take care. Have a great day.